Welcome to the Explainer, Oedipus Rex. Today, we are unpacking a 2,500-year-old mystery by the ancient Greek playwright Sophocles. This is literally the story that shaped the very foundation of modern tragedy. And look, I'll warn you right up front, the undertone here is incredibly dark, so let's just dive right in. What if everything you built, your name, your throne, your entire family, was just a complete lie? I mean, imagine a scenario where the harder you search for the truth, the worse your reality actually becomes. Well, that is the story of Oedipus. It's honestly one of the most devastating narratives ever constructed, and we're going to break down exactly how it works. Okay, so to really understand this story, we first have to set the absolute rules of ancient Thebes. It is a heavy, completely unforgiving world where, as Sophocles famously wrote, not to be born is best, but if we must see the light, the next best is to go back quickly whence we came. In this specific setting, the gods are all-powerful, and your fate, it's inescapably written before you even take your first breath. So King Laius and Queen Jocasta of Thebes are expecting their first child. But instead of celebrating, they receive this terrifying prophecy from the oracle at Delphi. The prophecy says their newborn son is destined to kill his father and marry his mother. Terrified, King Laius makes a cruel, just unthinkable choice. He orders a shepherd to take the newborn baby, pierce and bind his tiny ankles, and leave him on a mountain to die. Actually, fun fact, the baby's name, Oedipus, literally means swollen foot in Greek. It's a brutal physical reminder that he was marked by fate before he could even walk. But the shepherd just couldn't go through with it. He passed the baby to a messenger, who then took him to the childless king and queen of Corinth, Polybus and Merope, and they raised him as their own beloved prince. So Oedipus grows up happy, having absolutely no idea who he really is. Fast forward to year 18. Oedipus is now a young man in Corinth. In one night, a drunken remark at a party completely shakes his world. Someone suggests he's adopted. Desperate for answers, he goes to the oracle at Delphi. But the oracle doesn't actually answer his question. Instead, she just repeats that same terrifying prophecy. You will kill your father and marry your mother. Now, believing Polybus and Merope are his biological parents, Oedipus is horrified. He vows to protect them, so he makes a definitive choice. He runs. He flees Corinth, running in the exact opposite direction. But here's the catch with this world. Running from your fate is exactly what pushes you directly into it. And that brings us to a really critical location, the crossroads. Oedipus is on the run, far from Corinth. He's at this narrow intersection and he encounters a carriage. Inside is an arrogant old man who violently orders Oedipus to get out of the way. It's basically ancient road rage. A sudden, brutal altercation breaks out right there on the road, and in the heat of the moment, Oedipus kills the old man and his guards. Now, the absolute crucial point here is that old man was King Laius, his biological father. The first half of that terrible prophecy has just been unknowingly fulfilled, simply because Oedipus was trying so desperately to outrun it. So Oedipus just continues walking and soon arrives at the bleeding city of Thebes. And Thebes is in an absolute state of crisis. They're being terrorized by a monster known as the Sphinx, who literally kills anyone who can't solve her riddle. What walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Every single man before him had hailed. But Oedipus, who is brilliant and steady, looks right at the monster and gives the correct answer. A man. Because, a man crawls as a baby, walks upright as an adult, and uses a cane in old age. Completely defeated, the Sphinx destroys herself, and Oedipus single-handedly saves the entire city. Obviously, the city of Thebes is overflowing with gratitude. Their king was just recently murdered at a crossroads, a little detail that totally slips right past Oedipus, and they desperately need a leader. So they offer this brilliant stranger the crown, and with the crown comes the hand of the widowed queen, Jocasta. Let that sink in. He wins the throne, and he marries his biological mother. The terrible prophecy is now 100% complete. And the ultimate crushing tragedy of it all is that not a single person in the world knows it yet. All right, so years pass, and Oedipus is actually a really good, wise king. He and Jocasta have 4 children together. Thebes is thriving, until we hit the next major turning point. A devastating plague strikes the city. Crops are failing, people are suffering, the city is literally dying. Oedipus, being the fiercely protective leader he is, sends his brother-in-law Creon to the oracle to find a cure. And the oracle's answer is crystal clear. The plague will only end when the murderer of the old king, King Laius, is found and punished. Oedipus, full of this righteous determination, relentlessly vows to find the killer to save his people. Just pause for a second and think about the claustrophobic weight of this reality. He is hunting himself.
It is literally the ultimate reverse detective story. He is this brilliant investigator, turning over every single stone, interviewing every witness, deeply committed to rooting out the terrible corruption in his city. And he has absolutely no idea that the monster he is hunting is staring right back at him in the mirror. So, Oedipus calls upon the blind prophet Teiresias, who is basically the only man in Thebes who truly knows the horrifying truth. At first, Teiresias just flat out refuses to speak, knowing the absolute destruction it's going to cause. But Oedipus pushes, he demands answers, he gets furious. The immense anger of the king finally forces Teiresias to crack. He warns Oedipus about his pride, saying, "A good man yields when he knows his course is wrong, and repairs the evil. The only crime is pride." And then he finally looks the king right in the face and tells him, "You are the killer you are searching for." But Oedipus, utterly blinded by his own confidence, he refuses to believe it. He just accuses the prophet of lying and plotting a coup against him. From there, the mystery begins, this agonizing unraveling. First, a messenger arrives from Corinth with some big news. King Polybus has died of old age. Oedipus feels this massive wave of relief, right? He thinks, "I didn't kill my father, the prophecy is wrong." But the messenger, who is just trying to be helpful, reveals a second piece of information. Oedipus wasn't Polybus's biological son. He was adopted. He was a foundling, handed over by a Theban shepherd. And then comes the final, most horrifying detail. The abandoned baby had pierced and bound ankles. Oedipus's swollen feet, his lifelong scars, they suddenly become the most terrifying piece of evidence in the world. Now, Jocasta is standing right there during all this, and she pieces the dark truth together first. She does the math. The bound ankles, the location, the timing. You can almost see the blood drain from her face. She grabs Oedipus and she just begs him, "I beg you, do not hunt this out. If you have any care for your own life, what I am suffering is enough." She absolutely knows. But Oedipus is proud. He's relentless and he is unstoppable. He actually thinks she's just ashamed that he might be born of low peasant blood. So he completely ignores her desperate warning and demands that the old Theban shepherd be brought to the palace immediately. And this brings us to the darkest, most tragic moment of the entire story. It is quite literally like a collapsing sky. The shepherd arrives. He tries his hardest to stay silent to protect the king, but Oedipus forces it out of him. And the shepherd breaks. He confesses everything. The baby was King Laius' son. The prophecy was real. The mercy he showed that day on the mountain was the exact thing that doomed them all. The full, crushing weight of the truth finally crashes down on Oedipus in slow motion. And inside the palace, entirely unable to bear the horrific reality of what she has done, Queen Jocasta takes her own life. Oedipus finds her body, and in this incredibly visceral, devastating reaction to his own profound ignorance, he tears the golden pins from her dress. He drives them into his own eyes, blinding himself, screaming that he is blind in the darkness. He consciously chose physical darkness because he simply could not bear to look at the truth when it had been right in front of him his entire life. Blinded, broken, and completely covered in blood, he begs to be exiled. The greatest king Thebes ever had is led away into the wilderness by his two young daughters. So we really need to analyze the core psychological lesson here, which is hubris. This fatal flaw of excessive pride is exactly what makes the story so devastating. Because look, Oedipus was not an evil man. He really wasn't. He was brave, he was brilliant, and he genuinely loved his people. He was a great leader. But he was destroyed by his own relentless hubris. He possessed this fatal belief that his intellect could outrun fate. He truly believed that if he just pushed hard enough, he could control everything, know everything, and fix everything. He had wisdom in literally every area of his life, except one. He could not see himself. His unstoppable demand for total control and absolute truth cost him everything he ever loved. And Sophocles leaves us with a really profound reflection here. There is no witness so dreadful, no accuser so terrible as the conscience that dwells in the heart of every man. I mean, Oedipus spent his whole life running from a prophecy, and every single step he took to escape it was exactly what brought him closer to it. He couldn't win, not because he was weak, but because he just couldn't stop pushing. He couldn't yield, even when everyone around him was begging him to leave the dark stones unturned. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. And I want to turn this 2,500-year-old warning onto you with a quiet, heavy provocation. Is there an answer you just cannot stop chasing? Is there a door in your life you keep trying to pry open? A truth you are relentlessly pursuing that maybe, just maybe, you are not yet ready to find? Sophocles didn't write this to scare us. He wrote it so we would ask ourselves this exact question before it's too late. Oedipus found his truth, and it cost him everything. Thank you so much for joining me today. Keep seeking knowledge, but always be mindful of the doors you choose to open.
I build this channel one story at a time. Your like and subscribe means the world to me.